Is Dallas going full Korean? Yeah, I think at this point that's basically confirmed. So if you guys didn't see, so just to give you kind of a little bit of an update there, the last thing that we were sitting at was that the only player that the Dallas Fuel had on their roster was Doha. They basically lit a stick of dynamite on fire and yeeted it under the team table, blew up the entire team. And then it's come out today that they signed. So they signed Rush earlier today. He apparently doesn't get a frag video like Sparkle did. I don't know. I don't know what's up with that. But I mean, I feel like Rush should have a frag video of his own, but no, apparently not. Okay, so basically at some point, the Dallas Fuel got rid of basically everyone except for Doha. So Doha being an element mystic, just absolute incredible player, very flexible player as well. And then Yong, who was brought on during season 3, was the interim head coach. After they made some changes, Arrow stepped down as head coach. And then Yong didn't want to be head coach, so he is sticking around as the assistant coach. And then they brought in Rush, who is he was the coach for the Paris Eternal, which had a really good, they didn't actually make it to the top 4 to go into the actual grand finals, but they were one of the teams that was kind of considered in that S tier bracket. It was like the San Francisco Shock, and then it was the Philadelphia Fusion, and then it was pretty much the Paris Eternal. We're right there. So Rush is coming over to the Dallas Fuel to be the head coach for the Dallas Fuel, and then with him, they've brought over Sparkle, which is so Dallas Fuel now having the Sparkle Doha DPS line, which is insanity. I think to put that lightly. Well, yeah, so I think at this point, no hit scan. Yeah, I think the one thing that potentially, if you're gonna flesh out the rest of the Dallas Fuel roster, I think you still need like a hit scan specialist, because Sparkle and Doha are insanely flexible. The vast majority, but they're not known for being like hit scan specialists, especially on like Widowmaker and Ashe. I think both of them can play Hanzo at a really, really, really high level. And I assume that they'd be able to play, pull like a Libero and rock the Widowmaker anyway. But yeah, so I would expect probably that Dallas Fuel would flesh out their DPS line with a sniper specialist. Probably wouldn't even need a hit scan specialist, but probably specifically Widowmaker. These guys, I know they can play Tracer as well, but it really depends kind of how much specialist and how much flexibility you want there. But yeah, so Sparkle, and this is all kind of assembling like Element Mystic's old roster, right? Because Element Mystic, after Runaway, got picked up by the Vancouver Titans and then disassembled by the Vancouver Titans. I guess that also happened. Element Mystic are basically the next best Korean contenders team. So, and then in the Gauntlet, so in the 2019 Gauntlet, like last year's Korean contenders final, the Element Mystic won, or did they? Yeah, so they were second in Overwatch contenders Korea, but then when they went to the actual Gauntlet, they won. And so this Element Mystic squad that was the best contenders team in the world in 2019. I mean, if you look at this, look at the coaching. It's Rush, Yong, and then there's Doha and Sparkle. So if you guys are like, oh, they're missing hit scan or something, it was Sparkle and Doha on the original Element Mystic team that was the best, like best contenders. Yeah, they basically won everything in 2019 contenders except for the 2019 Korean contenders final, right? Because if we're going down here, yeah, they lost to Runaway 4-2 in the finals of 2019 Korean contenders. So they had XZ on the bench too. Yeah, I think based off of what XZ's been tweeting, I don't think he's coming to Dallas. I hope all the Paris players I've played with, the coaches, the people who went to Dallas, and the players who will go to the other team, will do well. I miss all. Yeah, so like a crying face from XC here with talking about Sparkle going to the Dallas Fuel. You know, there's nothing official from anybody, so it could still happen. We could just be being jobaited. Yeah, I'm sad, miss you. So XC isn't going to be, as far as we know at this point in time, joining the Dallas Fuel. But yeah, it could be trolling. I mean, Sparkle and Doha were definitely trolling around for a while. Is Dallas going full Korean? Yeah, I think at this point that's basically confirmed. You know, they've got Young, they've got Rush, they've got Doha, Sparkle. Another announcement should be coming out pretty soon as well. But yeah, I don't think that I think that they are going full Korean. I'm excited to see it. But the main thing is that they're trying to win, really. If you look at the rest of Envy's teams, like Dallas Empire, best Call of Duty team in the world right now. If you look at the Rocket League, one of the best. Valorant team, their Valorant team is second only to Sentinels right now. It's actually the team that has Sinatra on it. So when you're talking about like esports organizations, Envy, which is the parent company, the Dallas Fuel, Dallas Empire, all the other squads, like Envy's brand, it's not like 100 Thieves where their brand is clothing and looking cool. Like Envy's brand is winning. So as much as it was kind of painful to see a lot of the guys that I was friends with in the Overwatch League, like Note, Crimzo, Paintbrush, a lot of those guys depart the Dallas Fuel. It's, you know, Envy's primary goal hasn't exactly been to be marketable. They win. They're like, it's about being champions. And I think that because Hastro earlier this year moved over from CEO of Envy towards his new title. It's kind of a title along the same lines of Huck from Boston Uprising. Huck's title is like President of Gaming or something like that. Whereas Envy has grown large enough that Hastro is no longer the CEO of Envy. He's the Chief Gaming Officer. So he doesn't really have to worry about running the business anymore. They brought in a new guy to do that. And Hastro's basically like primary job now is to just build championship teams. So as much fun as like the Dallas Fuel has had really marketable players, even back to season 1, right, when they had people like Seagull and XQC and those individuals, you know, even back then though, that team was still like the pre-Overwatch League Envy Overwatch team was the best Overwatch team in the world. They were the only team that went to Korea and won. So yeah, with Hastro back, you know, it's kind of like, I think that the Dallas Fuel would probably be, it wouldn't be too much of a stress or too much of a stretch to say that Dallas Fuel's results has kind of made them the black sheep of the organization as a whole, because everybody else is like, you know, either winning or in contention, like number 1, number 2, pretty much all the other squads. So, you know, it's absolutely number 1 priority for the org to build a championship roster. So you see a lot of the other organizations, like, you know, you have Boston's main goal is to just not spend money. I think Toronto's goal last year was to be marketable. You know, they got Agilities, they got Surefour, and then of course, you know, Vancouver Titans as an organization apparently just like disassembling legacy rosters, just like, let's get Runaway, and they just fuck it up. You know, so, but no, like Dallas Fuel definitely, with Hastro moving back into control of Chief Gaming Officer, it's like the goal is to win. It's to be a championship roster. So we'll have to see how many other teams actually follow through with that. You know, I think that there are a couple teams in the Overwatch League that want to and have the primary goal of building a championship roster, but not everyone has that. But you know, with Hastro kind of refocusing as his role with like Chief Gaming Officer, yeah. What's San Francisco Shock's goal? They're one of the teams that they want to win and build. You know, actually build kind of, what's the word for it? It's not like an empire or a, yeah, I can't think of the word right now. It's not an empire. Dynasty, yeah. Thank you, chat. You're my thesaurus. So it'll be interesting. And I'm really excited because I'm signed on to Envy, really. And I'm more on the content side of things. So I'm really excited to meet these guys. And I know that some people are probably, I don't know. But either way, I'm really excited to get to know these guys. They've obviously proved themselves to be like a championship roster in the past. So I kind of feel blessed in a way that I get to have the opportunity to really get to know these guys. And then, I think one of the things that I can do this year is try and actually help kind of show them off. So at some point, I guess that does mean I need to learn Korean back on my list. You know, a lot of them are bilingual, speak English and take English lessons. And that's one of the things about, even though Dallas Fuel hasn't had the greatest successes in the actual Overwatch League, like Dallas is still a really, really great organization and treats their players well. And I think that that's probably one of the things that caused the Fuel to struggle a little bit, is they treated their players maybe a little bit too well and made them a bit complacent just because they were comfy and they were locked into their contracts. But, Dallas is a very, very nice org, treats their players nicely, like mental health skill or like mental skills coach, physical trainers, they have translators, people get English lessons, and I'm sure these players have been getting English lessons as well. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a fun squad to learn about and kind of help showcase. So, and again, so I think the biggest open-ended question out there is Dallas Fuel just assembling the Element Mystic roster again? Is like collecting the Infinity Stones? And I'd say that like it may look like that, but the real goal from Envy is to build a championship roster. So they're going to pick the absolute best players they can to build the absolute best team they can. And if that includes an Element Mystic core, they'll build an Element Mystic core, but they're not going to artificially restrict themselves to only Element Mystic players or anything of that variety. Yeah, and also just, what's the term for it? Like monocultural, or just, if you want to say that, the opposite of multinationals, like building, just a Korean team or just a French team or just a, American team or something like that. There are absolutely benefits to that. Yeah, London is moving to an all-European roster. And I think that's kind of one of the things that you guys will see in the next little bit, is that a lot of teams are probably going to cut cost. And, I mean, the way to cut cost is go all Western, really. If you're not going for superstars, it's like there is an overabundance of Western players right now. So I would think that if you're building kind of the combination of an affordable roster plus a decent roster, it's kind of like middling in terms of marketability and performance. I think you'll see quite a few teams going towards those full Western rosters, especially since you don't have to have the complication of having a multinational team. So the team right now officially is Sparkle and Doha for DPS, and then Rush and Yong for the coaching staff. So